So we have been going since 2005. We manage purely blocks of apartments and flats and private estates. So nothing else, no estate agents or lettings. So purely the block management. So it's a building in Southampton. We were approached this time last year, but they'd served notice on the freeholder that they wished to exercise their right to manage. When we had all the handover, we went through all the various paperwork to see what they had in place. And one of the things that I noted wasn't in place was that there was no recent buildings valuation. Now, this was slightly different with RCA in that because the sum insured was going to be over 10 million, I think it was currently insured at about 17. It's not just a simple desk-based one. So anything up to 10 million, they do the desk-based report. Over 10 million, it's actually meeting a surveyor on site, and they do it that way. So we had the evaluation done. So that particular report, because it was an actual surveyor going and the size of the building was about 700 plus VAT, so about £900 in total. And when the report came in, the valuation was 3 million under the current insured value, which then I was able to go back to the insurers and say, look, here's the latest valuation. Their premiums for a few reasons this year is £28,000, which is a fairly significant sum. It's only a block of 44 flats. So on their service charge, before I've even done anything, £600 per property is spent on buildings insurance. That's expensive, but they had a poor claims history. They'd had several bad claims for water ingress. One was in the six figures. It's in a floodplain, which is they're building extra defences at the moment in Southampton. So that overinsured amount meant a refund or a reduction in this year's premium of £3,000. So that's just in this year. So the valuation report is due every 3 years. So just on that basis, that means that they will save over the 3 year period not far short of £10,000. Based on that saving for having that report carried out. On the flip side, we took on a particular property, saw that it looked remarkably cheap or low on the building's insurance and the sum insured, got the online RCA report carried out, and yes, they were way under. So we then did the exercise of increasing the cover, but that is just as important, if not more so, if you're underinsured. So I'll use some round figures. Let's say it was insured for $500,000, should have been insured for $1 million. You're 50% underinsured. You then get a £10,000 claim. Insurers, if it's £1,000, they'll just take the quotes and that's it. If it's say 10,000, they may then start to get loss adjusters involved. A loss adjuster will then come out. One of the things they will do is then cross-reference the sum insured against what they believe the sum insured to be. You leave yourself in the position where if you are underinsured, and in that scenario I gave you, you're 50% underinsured, you leave yourself in the potential position where an insurer will say, okay, you've got a claim for 10 grand, you were actually underinsured by 50%, we're only going to pay out 50% of the claim. So we're only going to pay 5 grand. And you've then got to bridge and find that extra £5,000. Worst case scenario, thankfully never happened to us, an insurer can completely repudiate the claim. The reason they do that is, that one we would say, we would be able to argue with an insurer and say, look, these are lessees that were being advised, they're obviously clearly misadvised by a previous agent, etc. Or they're from that. That's more in place for your businesses that deliberately underinsure themselves to keep their premiums down, so that they've got that bit of paper to say, look, I'm legal, I've got insurance in place. So with the buildings, it's less so, but you certainly don't want to be in a position where an insurer comes back to you and says, look, you are underinsured, we're going to have to deduct that percentage. Winding the clock back a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, whilst you always kept an eye on it, it wasn't, for want of a better word, most insurers were happy to take your sums. So if we acquired a property, we would look at it and think, well, the sums insured look okay from our knowledge. That's it. Then every year, they would index link the sum insured, so it would go up by index linking. And then we would get, so when a sale goes through, again, it was about 2-3 years ago, the industry, this is more from solicitors, align themselves in the way they presented the inquiries to us. So we would get, so going back, say 3+ years, one solicitor would ask us all their pre-contract inquiry questions in a completely different format to the next one. That's all been completely aligned now, and the form they use is what's called an LPE1. That's in a very set format, so it's the same. So whether it's a block of 3 flats or a block of 100 flats. So if it's a block with all the various, lifts and smoke alarms and fire alarms, there's more to answer than a smaller block. One of the questions that is now in that LPE1 form that was agreed by the Law Society, and they did this in conjunction with, so the form was put together in conjunction, it was the Law Society, RICS, and the Council of Mortgage Lenders. So the main stakeholders when it comes to these properties. And one of the questions that was put in there was, when was the last building's insurance valuation? So we have to answer that question. We can answer not applicable, but we will then get a kickback, because if the person who's buying it has a mortgage, their lender wants to know that it's been done. They want to see that it's been carried out in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So every 3 years we have a diary system now, so it'll pop up in our diary system, valuation required for this particular block.